My name is Tim Summers, and I get the opportunity to be the youth pastor here. Ooh, they don't know what's about to get them.
Yeah, and I bet his underage victims didn't know that what was coming for them, that he was going to get them, right? This is Tim Summers. You might not know who he is, but he works for this guy, Yucky Steve Furtick from Elevation Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. Tim Summers is number 10 on our list of the cringiest, grossest, and in the case of number 6, really disturbing church Christian scandals of 2025. So as 2025 comes to an end, let's go over the biggest scandals of the year. And let's start with Tim Summers. In February of 2025, Tim was let go by Elevation Church because there was some allegations from a church in Texas, Oaks Church in Texas, that he had had an improper relationship 12 years ago, or many improper relationships. And so you're not going to be surprised that there's a lot of youth pastors on this list, right? Like, I just feel like youth pastors get into that position so that they can take advantage of minors. This is all alleged. I don't think that Tim has been criminally charged, but these are the allegations against him. And when you watch him, he's got that look about him, like he's trying to be overly cool and overly relating to the kids and not be an adult. Kind of reminds me of like Pete Davidson, like he's trying to be like that guy. So he was let go. As Steve Furtick, of course, runs Elevation Church.
Ask David what one stone can do. You can't fight a giant, yeah, but I can kill a bear.
And this is just my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised in the years to come if I don't make a list with Steve Furtick on it. You guys tell me. Number 9 on our list is an entire denomination, the Pentecostal Assemblies of God, and one of their pastors, David Savala. In September, a Texas judge had to crack down and really go after the Assemblies of God because they are not turning over documents needed to prosecute a case where they are accused, where the Assemblies of God, the whole denomination, is accused of mishandling SA allegations, especially against David Savala. At a hearing, District Judge Lauren Reeder in Houston said that the denomination's national office had been flagrant in its failure to comply with their orders to produce records related to alleged abuses by David Savala, a convicted S offender and former missionary. Other pastors in the Assemblies of God's college ministry called Chi Alpha, they hailed Daniel Savala as the holiest man alive, and they kept sending minors and adults to be pastored by him, counseled by him in his own home, even after his allegations had come out of SA and abuse, if you can believe that. And now that they're being sued, the Assemblies of God is doing everything they can not to turn over the evidence. What kind of denomination tries to hide what they're doing, especially after that whole Catholic Church thing came out? They're trying to hide it, and the judge is threatening them with contempt of court, civil and criminally. It's just mind-boggling, isn't it? You think they would have learned something after that whole Catholic Church thing happened decades ago. Number 8, the crime itself is not all that surprising. So number 8 is a guy, youth pastor, named Alexander Blackwelder. And he was sentenced to about 10 years in prison for having an inappropriate relationship with a girl in his church. And the church itself is not famous. It is East Main Church of Christ in Tupelo, Mississippi. So you would think, why would this even make the news? It probably barely made their local news because this is such a common thing. But I had to add him onto the list because there's a little twist here. So he has been sent to prison. And guess what I found online? This, I'm not sure what this is, if it's a ministry. I don't know exactly what it is, but he's actually on a website that sets prisoners up with pen pals. And this guy, I'm going to put up the graphic here. This guy is looking for a female pen pal. So if any of you ladies out there are looking for a guy who likes to have relationships with 16-year-old girls under his ministry, this is your guy. Or if you just want to write him, you could get this information and send him a letter. I was about half tempted myself to send him a letter, but I don't think he'd answer it back. I really can't understand how offenders, how they're able to get pen pals. It just seems like that's such a dangerous thing, doesn't it? I don't understand that. Okay, in June of 25, Tom Keesee, a son of Gary and Brenda Keesee, founders and senior pastors of Faith Life Church in Ohio, pleaded guilty to 32 counts of SA and rape against a person under the age of 13. So we don't know how old they are, but 32 counts. Now, he was not a pastor or even a youth pastor. He was like their chief media officer of the church. But I just always find it interesting, don't you? This is a case where these pastors raised a child, and you see that so often, and we'll see it again in one of our lists. One of our number 6 is also the son of a pastor, and how incredibly disturbing that is. But I always find it interesting. I had to put that on the list because can you imagine how embarrassing that would be to have your son, you're the founders of this church, and he is charged with 32 counts. I thought that deserved to make our list. So that brings us up to number 6. And if this person was more famous, this would probably be number 1, because this is some of the most disturbing stuff I've ever heard. And I've been on the planet for a long, long time, and I have never heard of some of these things. So back in September, which really was only a few months ago, so this is a new scandal, Joseph Peternel was arrested by Indiana authorities. He's not a youth pastor, but he's the son of a popular pastor in Indiana, and his name is Nathan Peternel of Life Church. And what I'm going to say has to be said very cryptically. I hope you get the gist of it. A lot of it might be bleeped out. You can also read what I'm going to say, and hopefully that'll give you an idea of what's going on. But they found over 200 files of child SA on this man's computer. And also they found child abuse, children that appeared to be drunk or intoxicated while being abused, violent child molestation, and photorealistic AI-generated photos of nude pregnant toddlers. Yeah, did you understand that? These are toddlers. These are AI-generated images of toddlers with child. Does that even, how do you even get that? Like I'm dumbstruck. I can't even get Chat GPT to write anything even remotely racy. Where is he going to get this? And in another sick little twist, they also found 50 photos and videos that he had of his parents having sex or nude. Would you ever want to see your parents nude, let alone think? I don't even want to think about my parents having sex, let alone having photos and videos of them doing that. Oh, but here's the kicker. Here's the thing that just puts the icing on the cake. His father, along with Lieutenant Governor of Indiana, his name is Mike Bickle, they have a podcast called Jesus, Sex, and Politics. You can't make this stuff up. And we've got number 5. That's Mike Bickle. He stepped away in February, a year after an investigation found misconduct on his part. What a surprise, right? It had been revealed that he had misconduct with 17 different females over the course of the years. Now, Mike Bickle, the name might not ring a bell, but you might have heard his church, the International House of Prayer in Kansas City. No, not of pancakes, which really would serve the world a lot better, but International House of Prayer. So they cut ties with him in 2023 for inappropriate behavior. After interviewing over 200 people and after 6,000 pages of documents, here's what they found. They found SA misconduct, including sexual abuse, rape, clergy abuse, and spiritual abuse against 17 women beginning in the 1970s. In addition, the church's leadership team suppressed and minimized reports of abuse rather than supporting the victims or staff who reported the incident. Investigators uncovered an additional 16 counts of SA against other people that are associated with this church. Number 4 is Bishop Steward Ruch, or Rush. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's of the Anglican Church of North America. He runs the diocese in the Midwest Division. And he's not on criminal trial. He's on trial within his own denomination. This is a denomination that I'm not very familiar with. This is very reminiscent, though, of the Catholic Church, of their trials and tribulations, where they found many priests and bishops had been covering for offenders. And this is what he's on trial for. Not for him doing the offending, but for hiding and promoting and moving around, especially one guy by the name of Mike Riviera, who's really a character. He's a lay pastor in the church, and he is spending now 15 years in prison for SAing a 9-year-old girl. And he has also been found guilty of grooming, of SAing many other girls and women. This has been a pattern with him. But who do you think was promoting him around? Who do you think was hiding? Yeah, the bishop. The bishop. He continued to send people, women, his way, even after he already knew this. This is what he's on trial for. And the sad thing is, Mark Riviera was using the sacramental wine that they would use in communion to get these girls and women drunk so that he could take advantage of them. And yet, this bishop was just seemingly fine with it. Now, the trial has been on and off. Supposedly, there was supposed to be some kind of verdict in November. That's when I'm recording this, and I don't see any resolution to it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. If I see anything, if I see a resolution to it, I will update it in the comments. And that brings us to number 3. And this one is just, it's not funny, okay? But it is, what's the word for it? Ironic, maybe? So back in 2000, a Michigan entrepreneur, a Christian one, by the name of Ron DeHaas, he invented anti-porn software, in large part because he was worried about his stepsons gaining access to porn. So this is called Covenant Eyes, and it's a porn internet accountability partner. I love, Christians always have to have accountability partners. You'll know that if you happen to be, especially a fundamentalist Christian, they love accountability partners to help you from sinning. I guess Jesus isn't a good enough accountability partner. But anyway, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, the Republican, he just praised this guy. This is the best thing, since sliced bread. But unfortunately, it didn't go the way Ron DeHaas planned. That's because back in August, one of his stepsons was arrested by authorities in Michigan at a meeting place where he thought he was meeting a 14-year-old to have relations. So Thomas Wideman, 38, was arrested and taken into custody and now stands accused of trying to meet a 14-year-old underage person. Did you guys ever used to watch that show, To Catch a Predator? That was on, I don't know, maybe 10 or 20 years ago. It was good, and you would not believe they would catch rabbis and lawyers and doctors and pastors. That's a great one. Well, I wonder if there's I wonder if there's. I wonder if they're in repeat or if you can find them on YouTube. That'd be interesting to like do a, like a documentary on that and get the best ones, the best clips. I'll have to look into that. Number 2 is the LDS Church. They got a lot of press in 2025 and not for a good way. Again, reminiscent of the Catholic Church scandals. It doesn't seem like they ever learned their lesson, does it? Again, LDS Church has been accused of covering up, promoting, and moving around people accused of grooming and assaulting girls and women. We're not surprised, are we? We're just surprised that this is happening in 2025. Over 1,000 survivors have come forward and said that instead of being taken seriously, instead of it being reported, the men that were involved in this were moved around, they were protected, the women and girls were told that it was in their imagination or to be quiet, and now the chickens are coming home to roost. So you will see, probably going into 2026, we might hear a lot more of this, but the Mormon Church is finally being held accountable, just like the Catholic Church was. And I hope that this is cleaned up, but we'll see. We'll see. That leads us to number 1. And I bet all of you probably saw number 1. He's the most famous guy in 2025 that was brought down by his misconduct. Do you know who number 1 is? Can you guess? Did you hear about him? Robert Morris of Gateway Church, a famous TV evangelist. And he's accused by a woman of grooming and SA when she was 12. Now, this happened a long time ago. She was 12, he was in his 20s, and it went on for many years. Now, he has admitted both to his deacons and at large, and he preaches about how at one time, he was unfaithful to his wife and that he had an affair with a young lady. And that's what he told everyone. And for some reason, that's just kind of how it stuck. That's what people thought. And he actually used it as some kind of, repentance story and a come to Jesus moment, which is so disgusting. But it came out that actually his affair was with a 12-year-old girl. So Gateway Church has tried its best to disassociate themselves from him. In their defense, they did hire an external investigator who went in and cleaned house. They had the church disassociate with Robert Morris's son and daughter-in-law. I think their names are James and Bridget Morris. So I guess it's a son and daughter-in-law. Another executive pastor by the name of Kentel Glassglow. He's also been accused of inappropriate relationships. I don't think he's been criminally charged, but he's another one. He was a high-up pastor, and several of their elders have also been let go. So it sounds like it was a church just full of these guys, which isn't surprising, is it? It feels to me, after doing this, it's very discouraging for me to realize that so many of these churches, and this is just the ones that have been found out, so many of them are full of people that get in positions to take advantage of people, of especially people with no power, people that see them as leaders. It happened to me when I was young. We had a youth pastor in my tiny little church. He didn't take advantage of me, thank goodness. He took advantage of another girl who was my age, and everybody there was rumors, and he was let go. But I saw him several years later at a drinking establishment, and he was drunk. And he said to me, "Man, when you were young, I really thought you were hot." And I'm like, you were my youth pastor when I was like 14, 15 years old. I mean, how can you say that to me now as a 20-something-year-old woman? I was so grossed out. So grossed out. I'm so lucky that I wasn't the one that he tried to groom. So this is just rampant. So, and he never faced any criminal charges. He never faced anything. So can you imagine how bad it must be when and these are just the 10 worst. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of other ones that I could have put on our list, but these were the ones that I thought were the most twisted, or in Robert Morris's case, not the most twisted, but probably the most famous. Okay, that's all I have for today. I will see you next week. Hey, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and I'll see you next week.